Hey everybody, Texas Truck Airlines, this is Performance Shabloon, Mopars.com. We got a 408 on the stand thanks to the gantry crane, and got things sort of at an interesting point here. I'm not quite sure what direction to go. And namely, I'm not sure if the headers are going to clear if I were to put them on now, when it's super easy to do so. I don't know if they're going to clear when we go to drop the motor in, and so on and so forth. So kind of what I'm thinking, if we come over here, I was sort of cleaning this the other night, the motor mounts, kind of sliding them all back together, and what I noticed, aside from the face it makes when you tell it it's a 408 now, is right there we just sort of had some surface rust sort of on the machined flat surface. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, because we can, scrape that off, shoot it with some paint, get it blacked out, and then of course with these spool type mounts, what we have to do, this right here again, if we wanted to throw this in the duster, we could. It would accept the early LA style mounts, but these bosses over here, which an LA is not going to have, we've got 1, 2, and 3. This is a much cleaner, much better looking view of what we are showcasing under the truck, but that's where these brackets will bolt up. We got the hardware here. Looks like it's 3/8 bolts. Could be wrong, we'll double check that when we install it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and for sure throw those on. And again, I guess if we use the gantry, it'll be easy to adjust and take things apart. But might throw the headers on, might throw the dipstick on. There's just all kinds of stuff we could possibly be doing, and I'm not sure what course of action to take. This thing that I thought was a really fancy grommet type of deal turned out to be a vacuum cap, so machine shop taking care of me there. But again, from this angle and not knowing it's a vacuum cap, like it almost looks like it's an insulator for the dipstick tube, and I was like, that's strange, I don't remember Chrysler doing this before. But yeah, it was a vacuum cap, so we're all good. The top end stuff, I really want to put the fuel rails, injectors, and throttle body on it. Obviously can't do that in this configuration. I could potentially get the load leveler and, you know, lift it by the head, sort of like we did to pull it from the truck, and then maybe we could have it on there. I still don't really think I'd want the throttle body exposed, so that may be something we throw together in there. Obviously the front accessory bracket is another thing I'm still debating. True story, I planned, once the gantry crane was assembled, to get myself a really nice sandblast cabinet, one of the Scat Blast ones, and at the time I was looking at them, you know, around Christmas-ish or so, you know, they were, you know, 700-ish, somewhere in there, and ready to ship, and lo and behold, they're now like mega back ordered. And I don't really want to wait, you know, 2 months just to sandblast an aluminum bracket, so might hit that with a needle scaler or something, see what I can do. But and then of course we got the seal here. Again, the machine shop, they told me they're adamant, you know, they said, hey, it may not be leaking right now, but as soon as you get that motor squared back in, the seal, which it goes right behind the torque converter, they said that thing's going to be leaking like a sieve. So maybe while paint dries, I hop in there and pull the torque converter. There's just a lot going on. There's not really a lot going on, but there's a lot that could go on. That's what I'm trying to figure out. The other thing, the hood is way too big for me to take off by myself. I've had my mom and sister here, and I was afraid it was going to drop, and subsequently I'm kind of thinking they make a hood picker, and it's 117, 120 bucks, and it probably works, but it also looks like it's really small angle iron, which is nowhere near $117. And I'm debating, trying to figure something out. Like, I don't know if I extend that out and put, you know, maybe plywood over the top, if then we bring the hood down kind of flat, and we could do like a poor man's temporary fix, you know, I don't know. So all that's sort of up in the air, but I didn't want to jump forward and not have anything covered. So I'm realistically just going to be taking some rust off, hitting it with some paint, and bolting up motor mounts. That's the one thing I know for sure. So I will check back in with you as we make that happen. Ain't bad for hand brushing it. And just like that, we've got a fresh coat of paint on them again. Nothing major, just something while it's here, just as well take care of it. Also realized I've got another thing I thought if I could do, which is clean off the spark plug wires. So they're not factory. A while back I replaced them with some Taylor Spyro Pros, so should be just fine for the 408. That said, this would be the driver's side mounts. I went ahead and I grabbed the passenger side, and for whatever reason it was a little bit more gunky than the other one. This one I did clean prior, but you know, it wasn't anything greasy, but this one it is. So we're gonna clean that thing up, and then obviously right here you've got the machine surface that was right up against the block, as was that. This whole pad should be a machine surface. And we're just gonna scrape that actually, and then come in, kind of clean it up. We'll detail the whole thing, and then we'll hit spray paint over the bare metal. So with that said, same process here. Just gonna come in again, really will scrape it quite literally. I've got my scraper somewhere over there. It's also Stahlwille. We'll hit that, get everything out of there, and then it should wind up looking like that one, which actually looks better when it's direct path to you. There's not this bad of a reflection. So anyway, we'll have clean motor mounts here in probably about 5 to 10 minutes. Wasn't gonna film this, but I realized as I was about to start working, it's gonna be one of those ones that's super satisfying. So let me come in again. Pay attention to the machine surface. I'm just gonna come up. See what I'm talking about right there? Already making headway. But the big payoff, as you should know, is gonna be coming down. So let's try to zoom her in as much as we can for you. Alright, so this is now kind of clean. It's back to the bare surface. It's gotten the grease off of it. But check this out. As we go down, you're going to really like seeing it. Yeah, pop this sucker back. Yeah, that should work. So check this out. Just going to go straight down. Just layers and layers of grease. Look at that. I'm pretty sure anyone, you can tell, I mean, there's the luster of the machine surface. That's just the one initial scrape there. So yeah, like I said, just a couple more of these and we'll have this cleaned off. Since this one was dirty in here, all the grease, it'll take a little bit more effort. I'm trying to keep that factory paint on that section, but I'll get to work on that. This was the satisfying part I thought people would enjoy seeing. So anyway, we'll be back and we'll have some clean mounts. Alright, so driver's side in the background, hit with a second coat. Passenger side here cleaned up considerably. It's wet paint, but let me see if I can't one-hand this for you. So heat shields cleaned up fairly well. Again, they're sort of stained. If I were to come in and, like, you know, abrasively hit those, we would have kind of streaks and everything, and then we need to paint that as well. And I don't want to do that because I like the natural look. So that is where we stand. That was the greasy side, and we've cleaned that up really well. And again, with the fresh paint, it looks really good. So while that dries, I think what I will do is come in and clean up the bolts for that side. Alright, so I got the motor mount bolts here, not super dirty. Guess it would help if you could see them right. But good practice, just go ahead and clean up the threads. And again, it's a great excuse to use the ergonomic combis, which are perfect in my opinion for this application. So you can kind of see here they grip perfectly. It's really solid. And then just the way they're designed, I'm going to bottom out at the brush before I actually bottom out into the body of the grinder. So super happy with that. Let's get to cleaning. And just like that, I mean, you can kind of see it's cleaned up really well for comparison's sake. That's sort of your two side by side. Again, top black, bottom metal. That's what we're going for. And I'll go ahead and finish up the other two. If you want to clean the heads, since the factory does use indented heads, and for whatever reason if this scares you, a good way to do it is kind of as you kill the grinder every single time. Keep in mind you don't want to scald your threads up, but while the brush is still turning, you just as well make use of it, and that kind of allows you to get in there without as likelihood of throwing chips back at your face. But, I'll tell you, doing this in the winter, this thing puts out so much air with the brush. It kind of gets cold, especially on your hands, but it's pretty warm today, so no issues. That said, I'm going to hit these other two and the big one, and we'll be done here. Alright, so here we are on the driver's side, just to verify and document everything in case I did not. This is a 3/8 bolt. There's going to be 3. They go from the mount to the block, the bosses that we showcased earlier. The length on this guy, it's like 1 1/8", which that's a little funky. I believe what the issue is, since it's sort of a special bolt, sort of heavy duty. See how it's got the built-in washer, right? So that's sort of your 1/8" difference. So again, if you were just replacing these and you're going to run a washer, you don't have the bolts, whatever the case may be, 3/8 by 1, and then just come in with a nice flat. But for us, that's what we're doing. The torque on these, according to the book, 60 foot-pounds. So that's what we're going to do. We got our Gedore torque wrench here. Anytime I run this stuff, like if I'm doing something and we're not going somewhere that's critical, I like to run Anti-Sieze. I prefer marine grade. Again, I'm the person that will be taking these things back apart, and subsequently, you know, I'm totally fine with it. So I'm going to gunk this thing up, try not to turn into the Tin Man, and we will get everything torqued. Alright, so true story, I just used a Hazette 3/8 drive, a 12-inch SK extension with a Vera 1/2-inch socket. Why? Because I can, and I really do try to cycle through everything, see what I like the best, and it results in strange combinations, but the 12-inch was like the perfect length for me, being on a knee pad and not bending over. So that said, something that I don't really think we get to showcase quite enough is the nicest torque wrench I've ever owned. And we're going to come in right here. If you're unfamiliar with this guy, you simply pull out, and we're going to dial it in again, 60 foot-pounds, which is nice that this is a dual scale. I realize you probably can't see that, but we're dialing it in right about there. I really want you to be able to kind of see what the scale looks like, because that's obviously what you would be dealing with if you were using this. Really hard being a one-man show, because I've got to balance this, try to focus it. But again, one-handed right here. We're going to come in. You can see we're zeroed out at 50. So now we are at 51, 2, 3, so on and so forth. As I crank it up, it's very easy to know we're at 59, and now 60. I'm going to tighten, press that back in, I should say. Basically, you go 50 to 100, but our red line is over one of those hash marks. You'd be looking at 70, 80, and 90. That is all there is to this. That's how easy it is to adjust. It is kind of old school. You've got the anvil that you sort of just push out. Right here, this is actually a Hazette socket. That's why I didn't use the Hazette with that rigmarole. Plus, this is 1/2-inch drive. But anyway, I guess that's the one that you can see. So, I'm also running into a box down here. We're gonna try to catch this sucker. Man, these awkward working angles, I'm telling you, I would never be at this angle if it weren't for a tripod and stuff on the floor. So I basically just snugged it up with our 3/8 stuff, and there we go. Right after we move the stand, that's our 60. And you can't really see the other bolts, but rest assured, same procedure. Again, little Gedore Torcofix, super nice, super easy to adjust. Again, all it is, this blue handle pops out. That's how you adjust it. That simple, one-handed, one-finger operation. So, pretty happy there, but I'm going to torque these down, move to the other side, and get it buttoned up as well. Oh yeah, right there. And right there, we got the motor mounts. We've cleaned them up really well. Hit them with some paint on the bare machine surfaces. We've got the fasteners cleaned up. We got everything torqued to 60 foot-pounds. Used a hodgepodge assortment of ratchets. You can see the Gedore torque wrench down there. That's a Heiko extension on it, a Hazette socket. And then we use the SK LP90, the SK 12-inch extension, and the Hazette 8816 HP. Why I know the part numbers, I don't know. It's something I want to do before I head in, because sadly, it's 8:54. That's PM, and I've not eaten. So, my bad. You know, time flies when you're having fun, right? This right here, this is the through bolt. It's going to basically go through the front of the motor mount to the back, and obviously tie in with the spools welded to the frame. So, In the event, again, that you don't have one, maybe you've got like a project truck, everything's torn up, we need to know what size to tell you to run. And the magical hole is 1/2 inch. So this will be 1/2-13. You can tell by looking at the coarse thread, not fine thread. And then, interesting to note, this looks like it would be a thick head, but it's not. It's just a thick flat washer there. But there is threads on that side, which is strange, isn't it? It's zoomed in so you can see it. I don't know that you can tell, but where that washer is, there's actually threads right there. Just it stops here, but there's like 4 or 5 threads, which I don't know. Who knows? I got thread happy at the machine shop that day, I guess. Length on this sucker, if we were to come in, we're going to have to convert because we've exceeded the 4-inch mark. That's the magic point where you have to start counting backwards. So 4 inches, 5 inches, basically 6 inches, we could call it. So if this is a bolt that you're missing, get yourself 1/2 by 6. That's going to be a pretty chunk of change these days. But there you go. We've got it documented. Again, I'd stay out here, get some more done. But as I mentioned, I have not eaten. If you're curious and you want to replicate the factory stuff, whether you're restoring the truck again or just don't have the hardware, which is probably the case, this is the finish out. You just kind of got like a crown nut, again, washer, nut, all in one. No nylock, nothing like that, just 1/13. I feel like I'll have to reference the video or find pictures. I want to say one side had the bolt facing forward, the bolt head and the nut on the back, and I think the other side was flipped. Not 100% sure which way it was, not even 100% sure that that was the case, but I think it was. And, unless I have to, or if I decide like, oh, well, you know, it's much easier, you know, to access this in this orientation, we'll change it. Otherwise, my rule of thumb, just like I want fasteners to come top down in automotive, just like aviation, the truck is going to be going forward, you know, 98% of the time, probably. Depends how great you are with trailers, I guess. We want the bolt head to be at the front of the truck. So if that nut backs off the backside and we're over here flying down the highway, this is not going to walk out, or it's less likely to walk out with forward motion pulling it back this way, right? Whereas if the nut came off the front of the truck, you know, towards your front bumper, then as you accelerate, you know, the momentum here is wanting to take this that way. There's probably too much weight, but should those ever become worn or anything crazy, it's just peace of mind for me to do it aviation style, so that's what we're going to do. But on that note, I don't know if this is a full video or not. I'll get in. It probably could be. And quite frankly, we've been at a standstill so long. Might just make it one. Plus, that means everyone that wanted to see the headers, you gotta wait, including me. I'm kind of like, I figured it was like, you know, 7:30 or something. But hey, like I said, time flies when you're having fun. So I'll probably stick those on, namely just because I don't know if they're gonna clear our heat shields. And if they don't clear the heat shields, I gotta take the motor mounts off and get the heat shields out of there, right? Because I'd rather keep them intact than trim them, in all honesty. I think they should, because again, they're shorties, but I'm not 100% sure, so who knows. But for now, we've got the motor mounts cleaned, pampered, and most importantly, torqued to spec. So on that note, I'm gonna go eat. Luckily, I made something last night. I've got leftovers, just have to microwave it. None of this waiting, you know, 30 minutes to 73. It cooked 73 minutes last night. I don't know why, you know, and then I wind up leaving it extra, but 73 minutes, like, how do we calculate that? Who at Schwann's is sitting there and is like, you know, this should cook 73. Like, is that his favorite number? Did his wife, you know, or the husband dare them to, you know, make something cook for a weird time? I don't know. But hey, it didn't burn, so everything turned out good. This is the Ram Revival. I hope you're enjoying. Sorry for the delay in videos. Again, it was the gantry crane. That was the magic piece that sort of slowed me down. Now, sadly, as I mentioned at the start, the blast cabinet, which I was really looking forward to, it's like mega back ordered. Not sure what we're going to do about that. But hey, got out here after work. A really long day at work at that. Still managed to have some fun, so it's all good. And I will catch you back here for the next thrilling installments of the Ram Revival. Alright, edit. Change everything. So, I'm sure we probably documented this whenever we pulled the motor from the truck, but I was sitting here and I was like, you know what, I can't go in. I want to go ahead and just get this thing cleaned up, throw it through the other side. As I was sitting here cleaning the head of the bolt, I saw 10.9. I'm not sure that you'll be able to see it. There we go, 10.9. That means it's metric. All right, so there I am in my old school ways. We have 3/8/16, you know, bolts going in, everything's fine, and boom, this sucker is metric. So I was sitting here and I was like, okay, it did seem a little loose maybe, you know, in the 1/2 inch, so I was thinking maybe it's like an M12. Fits the M12 much better than the 1/2 inch, and so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking in my head, you know, like, okay, I think that's a 19mm. So I came in here and I thought this would be a great way to showcase it because the Vera's got 19, it's easy to see. And while you could turn it, you're gonna round that sucker off. So interestingly, after perusing through metric sockets, 18 fits really well. What you hear rattling is the washer. So I was kind of taken back by that. So I think it's an M12 going SAE. The thread pitch works out to like a 14, which I think is like a 175 metric. Again, I don't do metric, I do old school stuff. So 18mm head, which is kind of funky. And then this guy right here, the special washer I was talking about, look at the size of that compared to the head of the bolt, right? So you're thinking, oh, okay, that's going to be the 19, because I think that guy's right. No dice, not even close to happening. So coming in, we've got a 21, okay? 21 fits this pretty well. Catch is, what seems to fit it the best, 13/16. Like there's times the 13/16 like fits it so well it doesn't even come out of a socket. So I wanted to catch this while I could. Again, I was just happened to be cleaning it. It's 10.9. I'm sure, like I said, whenever we were taking the truck apart, I probably referenced the size we were using. I don't know, maybe I used 13/16, maybe I used an open-end wrench, not 100% sure, but it makes sense to go ahead and mention it. Also of note, this is going to be really hard for you to see too. So this is the passenger side. When it's missing the other eye, it should be orange. And if you flip it over, you got your derpy frog face. You got the part number here, okay, at the top, but then right there it says blue, and here it says orange. So blue and orange, that's what it looks like on the other side. Anyway, I'm gonna run over to the bench wheel, wire wheel, get that cleaned up, thread it through. Again, I'm not gonna tighten it down, I'm just gonna have it in place so I don't lose it. But again, I wanted to catch it before we commit to it. So that's it. I think we're finished now, at least you are. I'm gonna go clean that thing up, throw it through so I don't lose it, and then I'm gonna go in and eat because it's now 9:15, because I spent forever trying to figure out what frickin' socket fit that thing. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. I'm gonna leave it at that. So LoneStarMopars.com is the website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are, we're there at Lone Star Mopars. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you back in the next one.